Alright, so we're back once again today, and I thought I'd bring a little bit of a different video today. Now, I've done one video on the PTS server, obviously covering submarines, as you can clearly see right in front of me. This time though, it's a little bit different. If you'll remember the Puerto Rico disaster, and I'm calling it a disaster because it was, Wargaming have decided to bring the Dockyard back, which is something I think everyone really liked, the idea of the Dockyard. But instead of doing something like the Puerto Rico, this time they're doing the Odin. And as you can tell, it's going to be part of a major directive, quite similar to like the Russian cruisers, stuff like that. This time though, I hope the directives are going to be a lot more doable, shall we say. A couple of key facts and then we'll get into the actual Dockyard. So, how the Dockyard differs this time from the Puerto Rico is the fact that there's going to be 20 shipbuilding phases. They can both be completed through directives, which I don't think have been released. Well, there's directives on the server, I think, but they're liable to change, obviously. And the phases can be completed for doubloons too. Doubloons. One thing I will say about this, and it was on the website, is that they say that the directives are going to be fairly similar to the Cossack Marathon when you're trying to get that ship. Now, I wasn't playing, I don't think, when the Cossack came out, so I'm not entirely sure how grindy that was. Obviously, if you were playing, maybe leave a comment so other people that maybe weren't playing around that time actually know how bad it is. But it should be pretty similar to that. So that's hoping. That was a long time ago, and you know, a long time ago the game was probably a lot less grindy, so maybe that's a good indication of things to come. That being said, after completing 10 phases of the directives, you get access to the cruiser, the graf spee. Now, the graf spee is known for being a really good ship, but again, a free ship is a free ship, as long as it's achievable. That big asterisk should be there. You can complete directives to get shipbuilding phases, but the maximum amount of shipbuilding phases you can get is up to 18. The final 2 to go from 20 in order to get the Odin have to be completed by paying doubloons. Now, I think that's the compromise Wargaming have introduced. And so instead of having like a really grindy directives and getting the ship for completely free, the only thing you have to spend is your time, instead they're going to introduce some kind of gated doubloon system in order to kind of balance it out a little bit, which I think is probably a lot better and probably going to get you a lot less backlash as a result. Moving on, again, the cost of completing one shipbuilding phase is going to be 1,750 doubloons. So that means for 2 it's going to be 3,500 to complete the actual mission if you complete all the directives. To get the Odin. And I think that's pretty much everything. Yeah, everything I can think of. Now obviously the big question here is the directives and how grindy they're going to be. But I'm hoping that they've actually learned their mistake from the Puerto Rico disaster and made them a lot more achievable. But with that being said, let's actually go into the Dockyard. This looks just as good as it did the very first time. Welcome to the Dockyard. Obviously the graf spee and the Odin, and it's going to run until the end of 0.97, so that's the 8th, well, the 13th of the 8th. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, so the 13th of August, which is, yeah, that's loads of time actually, much more than the Puerto Rico. So what we're going to do here, obviously there's the Dockyard, but there's 20 phases here. And we're going to go through each of these to see like the actual kind of how good the rewards actually are for completing directives. Now, that being said, take this with a pinch of salt. A lot of these could be placeholders for actual rewards. All of this is subject to change, obviously. Now, one thing I will notice is if you look at shipbuilding phase 20, you get 100,000 coal. But what I actually think that is, though, is it's just a placeholder for the actual Odin. So keep that in mind. Again, same 50,000 for number 10. That's probably the graf spee. But again, you get a mixture of containers, premium time, coal. It seems a bit light in terms of rewards, but maybe if the directives are light enough, then it'll actually balance out a little bit. That being said, let's actually get to the directives. What is this? All shipbuilding phases in the keel. Okay, interesting. It gives you a little bit of information on what each building phase of the ship is. I can't think of anything else. Alright, let's purchase these. Let's purchase a starter pack. Now again, I don't know how many phases this actually gives us. And again, I wouldn't actually spend my real money on this. I'd rather just grind the directives instead, but seeing as this is a PTS server, you get free dubons for actually just participating. You know, why not just speed up the process to see, you know, what the ships actually looks like and how the dockyard plays out. So again, it's a lot similar to the Puerto Rico in terms of, you know, artistic license and stuff. And it's really nice looking. It's a really nice addition to the game. And I suppose Wargaming have listened in that aspect, in which case they are bringing the dockyard back. Because I think no one was actually opposed to the idea of the dockyard. It's more the directives that's been the main issue. So the boilers, we have the steam engines, or the steam turbines. Introduced. Torpedo bulge. Got that lovely turtle bite coming on. Now we're up to 7. Shipbuilding phase 7. What's that? Installation of the bow on the main deck and inner armoured wells of the barbettes. Installation of the citadel side armour plates and freeboard frames. Now again, I don't know how many phases the starter pack does give you, but I have no idea. I don't even think I looked. So I think it's 8. Yeah, 8 phases for 7,000, 8,000 dubons or 10,000 dubons. I'm not entirely sure. Let's complete these phases, shall we? So we have 8. So let's do 12. All right, we're gonna finish off the ship, and we're gonna look. We're gonna see what it feels like. See what the cinematics are, and just check that out. Mostly because I just really want to see it. And I think it's going to be cool. Some people just might not be able to finish the directives and don't want to pay money for it, so why not get the same experience, but not actually have to pay for it. There we go, we finally got the graf spee. This looks so good. It's actually insane how good this looks. We have constructed the graf spee. Now again, the graf spee isn't obviously a fantastic ship, but a free ship's a free ship if you grind it using the directives. A couple other things actually I want to talk about that's coming to the PTS. Well, they're coming into the game, but they're in the PTS right now. Rank Sprint, a new season of that. Rank Season 12, I think, is coming at sometime mid-June, I believe. Again, I don't think many people like the idea of more ranked, but it is coming. Now there is a couple of other changes here. That's the Odin's finally seaworthy. Well, not seaworthy, but it's floatable. There's going to be UI changes across many different aspects of the game. Most notably the armory, I think, and I think actually there's some other part of the game that's getting its UI updated. I need to actually figure that out. Obviously I'll look at it after this. But I think that's pretty much everything. Obviously, there's a couple of visual upgrades for all of some of the maps too. And actually, that's probably one thing that's fairly noticeable when you play in game. The brightness of some of the maps makes it a lot nicer to play and a lot more enjoyable. Sometimes when you play on really darkened maps, you have to really squint to actually see what's going on, and it really makes you a lot more tired than you otherwise would be. So that's obviously a good quality of life change too. If you continue to complete phases by progressing through directives after you've built the Odin, you will obtain 250,000 steel as a reward for each completed phase. That's pretty good. And there's the Odin. Looks pretty fantastic. Alright, collect these rewards. Nice. Good job. Alright, so that's the dockyard. Hopefully that was fairly informative. Now the only question that remains is basically, you know, what is the directives? As long as they are not as bad as the Puerto Rico, this should be a pretty fun patch overall. One more thing I want to touch on, and I don't know if this has actually been introduced into the PTS yet, is the UI change to the armory. As you can probably see, this is a pretty nice upgrade on the old armory. You can go buy ships. I don't know what this is. It's in Russian. Containers. I think that's flags. Commanders. Soviet cruisers, which is the ongoing directive. This UI is actually pretty nice. There's a couple of things I want to point out actually. Now, usually with ships, when you search them in the armory, you can't actually take them. You can't actually take them into port. But the new UI, you can 100% take them into port. You can look at them, you can compare them to other ships, armor layout, boom. Artillery, all that stuff, you can compare them to other ships, which is a really nice change. Especially if you're kind of going back and forth between which ship you want to buy, which ship you don't want to buy. That's a really nice addition. And just overall, it looks a lot cleaner, a lot smoother. I think the current AI, or UI, sorry, AI, actually they could do with an update too. But the current UI looks a lot kind of squashed together, and maybe this looks a little bit squashed together here too, but overall I think it's a much improved system. And it's something I'm looking forward to being introduced into the game. It just really shows that it's been updated, and actually they actually maybe do care about the game overall. But with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this little update. Obviously no gameplay today, but if you enjoyed this, you can always subscribe or leave a like. I'll leave a dislike if you didn't like it. Yeah, I'll see you in the next one.